On a privately owned island in the Atlantic, the garden was home to a bustling commune of optimists set on building a better world. A mansion sits twisted by darkness and further perverted by the entity's influence, contorting and reconfiguring itself in maddening, serpentine formations. At once familiar and foreign, to look upon it is to know fear. If you haven't figured it out by now, today we are going to be looking at the map Garden of Joy in the brand new realm Withered Isle. And this has come out with the latest DLC, Roots of Dread. Now, before we get into it, I do want to let all of you know that we do stream throughout the week on twitch.tv/Parklis. So if you have any questions, you just want to hang out, chat it up, have a good time, swing on by, and hey, we'll be there. Now, for those of you who don't know what's going on here, if this is your first time in the Totem spawn video, well, every single map has a large pool of possible spawns that a totem can spawn in. When the trial begins, the game will randomly select 5 of these spawns and place them throughout the map. The goal here is to show you each and every possible totem spawn on every single map, so that you're better prepared for when you're needing to find a place to finish a challenge, put down a boon, or destroy that hex no one escapes death. Now, this map is rather large, and we're going to make it a little bit easier for you to figure out what totems you want to find. So we're going to break it down here into 4 separate categories, which will be chaptered out down below. We have your standard nature totems. These are the ones that are in the open kind of tiles. Then we're gonna have the road tiles, and then we're gonna have the jungle gym tiles, and then finally are going to be your main structures. Now in this map, the main structures not only includes the shack and the main building, but also 2 flanking tiles, which one can be the greenhouse or the gazebo, and the other can be the crashed train or the treehouse. Now, without any further ado, let's get into the totem spawns for the Withered Isle realm map, Garden of Joy. Alright, now the first totem we're going to look at in the nature section is going to be what I'm calling the Big Rock Totem. Now, this is most obvious because it is a nature tile which has a bunch of trees, a handful of bushes, and a large rock toward the center of the tile. Now, there are other tiles which will have multiple rocks, which we'll get to in a moment, but this one has a singular rock. Sometimes it's next to a hook, sometimes a generator, sometimes there's fire barrels, but on the back flat side of the rock is going to be your totem. This is usually facing the outside of the tile. It won't be facing the interior, but it should be pretty easy to spot. All right, now here we're going to have another one of the big rock tiles in the nature section. Again, there's a giant rock in the middle of the tile. There's going to be a mostly flat side, and it's kind of, this rock is actually more of a triangular shape rather than a rectangular or a prism shape. But this one is going to have the totem actually in the back corner of this tile. So it's, the totem's not going to be up against the rock like in the first one we looked at. This is usually going to be in the outer back corner. It can be towards the interior of the map, but usually I've found it facing the walls. It's going to be hiding in a little bush, so if it's lit, it's not really hidden too much. If it's not lit, you might have a hard time finding this totem, so keep an eye out if you see a big rock. Alright, continuing with the rock nature tiles, this is the 2 rock tile. Again, you're going to see, instead of 1 large rock, there's actually going to be 2. They're going to be kind of flanking each other in the center of this tile. One will have a little stubby rock that jets out of it. The other one is a little bit taller than the other. The totem here is actually going to be on the outer edge of the tile. It's going to be facing the interior. But you'll see a birch tree and one of the red colored tree / bushes that are going to be right up next to each other. And right in between the tree and the bush, you're going to find this totem. So take a look around when you're in the tile. You may pass by it not looking or thinking for it. All right, now counting up in the number of rocks, we have what I'm calling the tri-rock tile. This is most notable by the 3 rather large rocks in the center of the tile, much like the 2 rock. This one actually also has a fallen tree, a hollowed out log, and where the roots come from that tree is actually pointing to the tree where the totem is hiding behind. So if you don't see it immediately, if you see the fallen tree with the 3 rocks, follow that tree to the roots and you'll see a living tree. And usually, I would say about 99% of the time, you're going to find that totem right there next to that tree where the log with the roots are pointed towards. The next totem we're going to look at is a tree rock tile. There's no good way to describe this. I guess I could have put it in with the 2 rock tile because there are 2 rocks, but there's also a dead tree stump. And there's just a sparse amount of vegetation here altogether. I mean, you could also consider this a 3 rock, but the 3rd rock is kind of at the edge of the tile. Anyway, you'll see 2 medium to small size rocks and 1 medium to large size rock. And on the exterior of the tile, there's going to be a lone tree next to a dead tree stump. And that's where the totem's going to spawn. So keep a lookout for the dead trees, I guess. All right, now continuing with the dead tree / tree stump motif, this is what I'm calling the tree stump tiles because there is a rather noticeable dead stump of a tree sitting there in the middle of the tile. There's a handful of trees all around, a couple of rocks, but nothing really fantastic about this tile in general, except for the singular tree stump that's kind of standing alone. Now, the totem in this one is actually going to be on the outer edge of the tile around another lone tree, kind of hiding behind a bush. So this one might be a little hard to spot your first couple times. So as time moves on and nature begins to replenish itself, the lone tree stump is no longer alone. Now more vegetation has filled the tile. You'll notice these 3 birch trees that are flanking or around this tree stump. Some more of the red bushes come in. The rocks are about the same. You'll see here this version of the tile has a fire barrel. That fire barrel may or may not always be there, but you will notice the 3 sprouted birch trees. Right next to one of the tree stumps is the 3 sprouted birch tree, and right behind that is going to be your totem. The bodies of the freshly moried survivors have put enough nutrients into the soil to bring back life to this once decrepit forest. The 3 sprouted birch trees have grown to massive heights. The bushes are plentiful. The roots are all around, but the lone dead tree stump is still there in the center of this tile. This one is actually pretty easy to spot. You find the dead tree stump in the center of the tile, and actually right next to it is going to be your totem. Now, if you're not keeping a close eye, you might just run past a dull, but as you can see, a lit totem in this respect is pretty easy to spot, whether it's a hex or a boon. Kind of hard to miss this one. So starting with the map, the Isle of Crows, they decided to invert the hills and make them sinkholes. And this new map, Garden of Joy, is no different. They have added back the sinkholes in place of the hills, and much like Isle of Crows, where there is a totem in that sinkhole, there is one here as well. So this is very easy to spot. As you're running by from almost any angle, you should be able to see a lit or unlit totem. Just look down towards the back of the sinkhole where it starts to rise back up, and you should spot yourself a tasty totem. Alright, so this tile is very obvious to spot. There is a white broken down car in the center of the tile. Now don't let this version of the tile fool you. It doesn't just spawn next to the road. It can spawn in any of the nature tiles around the map. That includes the very far back right one, just to the right of the house in the back corner of the map. So the totem here is, again, relatively easy to spot if it's lit. It may be a little difficult your first couple times through if you aren't paying attention, but right up next to the back of the white car on the passenger side is going to be your totem. Have fun. Well, we almost forgot this one. This is another one of those weird nature tiles that's kind of hard to place because it's not exactly a tri-rock tile. It's not exactly a dead tree stump tile. So this is another one of the generic nature tiles. However, it's most noticeable by the larger dead tree stump. This looks like about half or a quarter of the tree actually fell off, leaving or 3/4 of the tree, leaving the bottom quarter left. You'll notice the 3 medium-sized boulders kind of flanking and around the tree, and next to one of the actual living trees between 2 of the rock formations is going to be your totem at the base of the tree. So moving away from the nature tiles and heading into the road, some of the tiles on this map are actually a little difficult to tell where one stops and the other one starts. Behavior has really started to mesh these tiles together a lot easier. So this is kind of an oblong or elongated tile, or at least in my opinion it is. This is the car tile at the end of the road heading away from Shack, and you'll see the broken motel neon sign on your left as you're headed down the road. You'll see about 3 destroyed cars here, and it's kind of like a parking lot. But between one of the cars and is a trash can with a pallet, and actually behind this pallet and the trash can is going to be tucked away back there your totem. So the next road tile I noticed is on the long part of the road in front of Shack and between and in front of the walkway to the front of the main house. This long road will have a broken down red car. Now this just may have been what it looked like when I found the totem. But on the outside of the road, up against one of the split off guardrail sections, is going to be your totem. It's going to be tucked away back there, usually next to a light post or a telephone post. And yeah, you should be able to spot it if you just give a quick look next to the guardrails. This next one I originally thought was actually the same as the last one, the red car one, except for now the car is white, and maybe the car didn't have that big of a thing to do with it. But when I determined where the totems are, I determined a bunch of key features. The car, in this case, I see it's the guardrail. However, the totem's on the opposite side of the guardrail. There's less foliage. There's no street light or telephone wire. So this one I'm calling the broken down white car tile. It's again going to be up against one of the guardrails. It's going to be a little easier to spot as it's on the outer edge of the guardrail, and there's really nothing blocking your view from it. So this one speaks again to the blending of the tiles. I'm still considering this a road tile. There's no cars as key landmarks, and it's actually at the intersection between the long road and the shoot off for the motel road. I noticed this was behind one of the birch trees right there on the far corner, in the back, I guess the front left corner of the map, kind of tucked away back there. So it's kind of between 2 of the road tiles, but I still think it fits with the long road. You will find it back there hiding behind the light post and the tree if it's going to show up. So keep an eye out for that one. This one's actually pretty easy to miss. Moving off the road and into the jungle gym tiles, we're actually almost all of the jungle gyms here have had their design changed slightly in one way or another. And there is actually, in fact, a brand new, never before seen jungle gym on this map, and only this map, which we'll get to in a minute. We're going to start with the original jungle gym with a pallet on one corner, a window on the opposite corner, some lockers, possibly a generator, possibly a hook. This totem is going to be as soon as you go through the pallet towards the back side of the tile, hidden behind a tree in that first corner, is going to be your totem. Now, sticking with the more commonly known tiles in the jungle gym section is going to be your standard L wall, T wall. One of the sections look like an L with the 2 walls together, and one of them looks like a T. Now, it has 2 windows, each on the outside of the interior of the tile, and in the interior of the tile on the T-wall side is going to be your totem. This one is actually flanked by 2 different trees, so have fun with that one. Continuing with the jungle gym tiles, this is and this is where they start to change a little bit. This is the long wall jungle gym, one of the most well-known and most powerful. It has a pallet on one corner and a long wall with a window on the other. However, this long wall is different. It's not in the center, it's slightly off center. There is another long wall on the back of the tile where normally the exit is. There's not a quick exit to the long wall on the far side of the window. This is just a very strange and will throw you off if you have muscle memory on how to run it. However, this totem is on the back side of that long wall and on the opposite side of the two brand new lockers in the corner. All right, from here on out, behavior has kicked it into high gear and shuffled everything you know about tiles around on its head, so you have no idea what this is. I'm calling most of these all considered to be open 3 lanes. This one I believe was originally found on Ormond, but is most prominent on the Yamaoka estates. So this is kind of an open 3 lane. It has 3 lanes that you can enter between from the center. One side has a pallet, one side has a window. This window actually connects to 2 different of the lanes instead of just one. But the totem on this part is going to be in the center in this open C shape. So this is a very strange tile. All right, this one more closely resembles the open 3 lane that you find on Ormond and some of the newer maps. It has one lane that has the pallet, has a middle open section, and another lane that has a window. Usually that open section is clear, or you'll see some debris, but there's never that little L-shaped wall in the center blocking you off from going directly through the center lane. So this one makes you zigzag through the center lane. However, it does have more of an open section. This totem is going to be up against the window in the corner of this new wall, one of the new walls that's been added. So this is actually the same configuration as the first open 3 lane that we looked at. However, it is the totem's in a slightly different spot. You'll notice the center C section here. In just a moment, you'll also notice here's the side pallet. We originally saw the side window and the somewhat open, somewhat closed off center section with the generator here. However, the totem here is going to be in a completely different place. So instead of being in the central C section location, you're going to go around the C section, and right next to the pallet is going to be your totem. This one's on the interior of the map, of the tile, so keep an eye out. All right, this is the final totem in the open 3 lane configuration. This is the same as the one we saw before. This one has the centralized C wall that has the window on one side of the tile and the pallet on the other side. This window you'll see sections off between lanes 1 and 2 to allow you to get to the pallet. However, this totem is actually up against the back side of that window. So look on the outer edge of, or the central area of the outer side of the tile. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Look on one side of the window or the other and you'll find the totem. This one's more towards the middle on the outside though. All right, well, we're finally here. You may have thought I was lying, but this is it. This is the brand new jungle gym totem that has never been seen, or tile, I should say. I don't know if I want to call this a half long wall or an improved jungle gym, but it looks exactly like a jungle gym, except for instead of the window being on the far wall, it's still on the kitty corner, except it's on the perpendicular wall. So you have a halfway of a long wall here, which connects to a longer L shape, 90-degree angle. This is a very interesting tile. I'm not sure how it's going to play out. So keep your eyes open for this. This one didn't spawn as often as some of the other ones, so it's kind of a rare tile. This totem is going to be on the outside next to the 2 lockers with the side of the pallet, but this is an interesting tile. All right, so the first main tile we're going to look at is going to be the crash train. Now, if you're facing the main building from the road and you look to the right, you're going to see this crash train. This crash train also shares a tile spawn with the giant treehouse. So you're either going to find the crash train or the giant treehouse. I consider these both main structures because they cannot be in any other location other than here, even though they do switch what's in here. So the crash train has a vault in the middle of the train, you'll see some broken train tracks jutting up out of the ground. With the broken train track in front of the crash train, if you go immediately next to it, you'll find a little dirt mound that's bumped up, and there's going to be a little bit of a bush. Hiding behind that bush is going to be your totem. All right, continuing with this tile set. Once again, if you look directly to the front of the main house and you then switch to your left or your right 90 degrees, you're going to find this treehouse tile. This tile shares a spawn with the broken train, and this is a really large treehouse. You can't miss it. It is the biggest tree on the map. This thing is massive. And if you're looking for the blue teddy bear, this is actually at the base of this treehouse as well. So if you're keeping a scorecard of where the teddy bears are, try and find the treehouse and you'll find the teddy bear. Now the totem here is actually on the front side of the tile. You may have seen it earlier. There's going to be a rock that's right up against the road, and between the road and the rock is going to be your totem. This one can be pretty easy to miss if you're running past it. Now on the opposite side of the map is the next tile that shares a tile with another main building. If you're looking at the main house and you're looking to the left, this first one we're going to look at is the gazebo. So this is a nice little white overgrown gazebo. It's pretty easy to spot. It's always going to be in the same place, just like the train and the treehouse. The gazebo shares a spawn with the greenhouse. The gazebo totem, if you didn't already notice, is going to be on the back side. Now, how can you figure out what's the back side? So a couple sides you'll be able to enter, and there's one side with a window. On the side that has no entrance or window is going to be your totem. So look around and you should spot it pretty easily. All right, as said before, this is the greenhouse now that we're going to look at. The greenhouse is, if you're looking at the main house, to the left of the main house. This shares a tile spawn with the gazebo. There's one of those two are always going to spawn, whereas on the right side of the house you'll have the giant tree house, or you'll have the crashed train. Now the greenhouse has a window, 2 entrances, and a lot of blocked off space. You can kind of loop in between here, but the pallet is usually on the outside of the greenhouse instead of on the inside, much like on the Crotus Pren. The totem is also going to be on the inside on the far wall where there is no exit. It's going to be between 2 tables, so keep an eye out. All right, as we're moving closer and closer to the main building, the House of Gardens of Joy itself, we're going to look at the front yard. Now the front yard is split into 2 different sections. The first one that we're going to look at is going to be on the right with the swing set. The second one is going to be on the left with the truck. Now this first one on the right with the swing set, as you're facing the house, on the back right corner of that tile, you'll notice a little doghouse. Now inside the fence, up against the little doghouse in the corner between the fence and the doghouse, is going to be your totem. So keep an eye out for this one, as this one's pretty easy to miss if you're just going quickly. All right, so finishing the front yard, like I said, the front yard is split into 2 sections with the jungle or the swing set on the right side and the truck carrying with the trailer on the left. This totem is going to be on the truck with the trailer on the left. So if you're facing the main house, look left, you'll see a truck. Continue to the outside of that tile, and next to the log pile on the outside of the fence, just sitting out there, that's going to be your totem. Now, before we get into the main house, how could we forget the mainest of main buildings, our boy, the shack. The shack has been around since the beginning of the game, and this map is no different. This is in the look and aesthetic of the map. It actually has some more jet out junk pieces to stop the hug wall tech that most survivors do, so keep an eye out. But the interior is the same. You have the pallet, the opening and the window, and some lockers, and in the corner next to the pallet, that's going to be your totem. This one's a little open though, so easier to spot. All right, we are here, everybody. We have made it to the main building, the main house on Garden of Joy. Now, this main building is huge. It's dark. It's 2 stories. It has window vaults all over the place. It has a couple pallets on the outside. It has a hidden chest on the 2nd story. The basement spawns here. There's a whole lot going on. Now, there are multiple totem spawns here if you didn't know. So the first one we're going to look at is actually on the outside of the main building. As soon as you go to the front of the main building, going up the walkway between the 2 sectioned off front yard portions, right when you get to the main steps going up to the front porch is going to be your totem tucked away there to the right of the steps. So take a look if it's there. If it's not, you may need to go inside. The first totem on the interior of the main house is going to be all the way back and to your right. So go past the stairs, go past the first room, and in the dining room where the window vault is, go all the way back to the far left corner, and you're going to find the first interior totem here on the first floor of the main house. All right, the second totem that's going to be on the interior of the main house here is also going to be on the first floor. It's not going to be on the right side like how the first one we looked at was. However, it's as soon as you enter the main doorway, you're going to take a left and then go all the way back to the far back of the house, in through the darkness. This is where the back kind of hallway splits off to go to a different vault and also to the exit toward the back of the house. But it's going to be tucked away in that corner right near the back door on the left side of the house. All right, well, we have come to it. This is the final totem in the new map, Garden of Joy, for the Roots of Dread DLC. I hope you all enjoyed your stay. You all know how YouTube works. If you liked what you saw, like it. If you didn't like it, dislike it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave it down below. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and I love just talking with you guys about Dead by Daylight in general, what behavior can improve upon, what they really fell short on, why they love survivors over killers, you know, all that good stuff. And hey, if you want to drop a sub and let you know when any more of these videos come out, go right ahead and do that too. So I really enjoy this map. The lighting on the inside of the house could be better. However, the exterior of the house, the outside parts of the map, I think are fantastic. It really brought some of the horror back to me. I don't know about you guys, but again, let me know down below. The final totem here is going to be on the 2nd story. This is where everything gets really dark. So as soon as you go through the main door, your staircase is going to be on the right. Go directly up to the right, or go directly up the staircase and immediately turn left to get to this first set of main rooms before you get to the generator for the house. And in that first room immediately to your left is going to be your totem right between the bookshelf and the window vault. We love you all very much, and if no one told you, please stay safe out there in the fog.